first, thank you for being here this morning. As you know, I'm the President and CEO for Shore Regional Health. And Shore Regional Health covers 5 counties on the Mid-Shore, from Kent down to Dorchester County. And each one of those counties are very important to Shore Regional Health, just as we are here today in Kent County, and Kent County is an important part of our community that we serve. So thank you very much for being here today. So part of my role as the CEO for Shore Regional Health is to try to connect our employees and connect our community with what's going on in the industry and what's going on at Shore specifically. And one of the ways I try to do that is through face-to-face discussions. You know, a lot of times we send emails, we even post videos, but there's nothing better than face-to-face discussions. And I've been doing that with our team for the last several weeks, and I try to do that every few months to keep the team up to speed on what's going on in our organization. We have 2,500 employees at Shore Regional Health. We cover 5 counties and we're in over 50 buildings. So it's incredibly complicated to do that, but there's nothing more valuable than that face-to-face discussion. And in those discussions, I've learned that our team is incredibly engaged in what's going on in the industry and what's going on at Shore Health specifically. A lot of changes, but they're engaged in that process. And that's I'm very pleased to hear that. Just like our physicians in our communities are engaged as well. 5 counties, several hundred physicians, part of our organization, they're engaged. Many of them were involved in the study process that we've put together. And many have also stepped up, especially those physicians in the Chestertown community, and said, we want to help create solutions to some of the challenges we've got.
One is, as you probably saw last week's Daily Record of Baltimore had an article naming the Chestertown area as the #1 area in the state to retire to. I think one of the key aspects of that is having full access to full healthcare services in that town. So in terms of the future of our rating as the #1 place to retire to, I think having all the health services that are necessary and that are needed available to keep us in the top of that list. And the second thing is, on a personal level, I'm the manager of a retirement community where 320 people live. Every year another 40 move in, they shop, they go in town. We're the 4th largest employer in Kent County. And there aren't that many jobs. The college, of course, the hospital, of course, the fix about. We're 4th. And Heron Point is a retirement community was built where it is, 5 minutes from a hospital, because the hospital is 5 minutes away. In Maryland, there's 37 retirement communities. They're all within 10 or 15 minutes from a hospital. So in terms of the future of where I am, where I work rather, having full health care services within 15 minutes is key.
Perfect. Kent County has an aging population with people retiring, people who live here. This has been actually financially really good for Kent County, has increased the tax base, and has been excellent for the Kent County schools, even though the population of children has decreased. My thought with the aging population is we are all going to need access to health care, and I think it's really important to consider a travel issue, but also to consider a family support issue. If your family has to travel to Easton or to Baltimore to see you when you're hospitalized, I think it can have a negative impact on the quality of your care. And I think that is of great significance.
Speaking to the issue of transportation, I'm concerned that for the people that are affected by transportation problems, there's a real catch-22 with these meetings, because they are the very people who probably are not able to get to these meetings to have their voices heard. I'm wondering how, in other ways, Shore Health is trying to reach out to those people who, for the very reason they have transportation issues, cannot come to these meetings.
One of the problems you face in all of this is that in order to attract physicians to Kent County, Northern Queen Anne's, Southern Cecil, to attract physicians is not an easy thing, because when they begin to look at this, they say, can I make a living having come out of medical school with $200,000 debt and so on? How do I do this?
Moving to a retirement community, which is why we ended up in Heron Point.
Okay.
First thing we did, we called local doctors. We called the hospital to find out what kind of services that they provided. And everything came back glowing. We moved in 2 months ago. And now we find that those services are going to be reduced or could be reduced, whatever the decision is. We hope not.
I too might not be here to tell the story where I got to the hospital. A couple of years ago, blood clots that I got on a trip to my leg, I had no idea where they were. Blood clots that I got on my leg on a trip, didn't know about, broke up, went through my heart, lodged in both lungs. I was at home alone at the time, and we lived well out in Warden in the good ways from the nearest EMS. So I grabbed my cell phone ready to hit 911 if I couldn't make it, and I started driving in. I got to the hospital, pulled up from the emergency room, didn't know if I could make it in or not, but I did. They took care of me immediately, took me in, got a CAT scan right there. There's going to be another part of the story in a second. Stabilized me. I was checked in for several days, and during the time the clots started to break up, not only did I have CAT scans, but I had the Doppler on my leg and stuff, and so all of that really saved my life.
As many of the issues that are raised today will have been raised in the past, and one of them in particular was concern over the lack of transparency. And many of us believe that that lack of transparency has also led to the lack of trust in this issue. And there was a recommendation made at the meeting in Chestertown, at the farmhouse, that Shore Health share the recommendations that had gone forward, the consultant reports that had gone forward. Mr. Kozel mentioned a few minutes ago that the board has not yet voted on the plan. I'm sorry, I don't know. I doubt anybody else in this room knows what the plan is.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that how do the insurance companies and Medicare feel about providing ambulance service on a regular basis between Chestertown or Rock Hall and Easton?
So the concern is Medicare transportation with ambulance?
Exactly.
Okay.
Ambulance transportation.
Yeah.
Because it's very costly, and most of the people that would need that service would not be able to pay for it out of their own pocket.
Our college won't stay vibrant if we don't have kids coming, and kids might not come because sports, there's nowhere to take care of them if they're hurt. If a kid needs continuing medical attention and it's not there, this is a college town. Well, I consider Rock Hall and Chestertown kind of the same. And I think the college is a huge part of having the hospital too, another reason to have it. Again, for the sports, for kids in general, and then again for all of us.
There's also another population, a kind of a transient population that comes into Rock Hall particularly, and that's our recreational boaters and people who come here for hunting and fishing. And these are people who also need to be considered when we consider needs of the general community. Rock Hall is very dependent upon these kinds of people coming in.
I also look at the health of the community in terms of it's an economically viable one. We moved here in 2001, and one of the attractions was the fact that there was a hospital here, in addition to the other wonderful amenities of Candy County. I have signed up just within the last year to Heron Point. And now I'm thinking, well, was that really a smart thing to do? So I have economic impact within this community. And I think the existence of the hospital is part of a healthy economic community.
We purchased property here about 10 years ago, built a house 2 years ago, hired local tradesmen, and they were blindsided by the fact that the hospital is considering moving out of the area. We think there's quite a negative impact on our property values in the future, and that's also being sailors and moving to an area that has probably a population that probably goes 6 times that what it is in the winter, which is about 1,600 people. It's probably what we're spending thousands in the summer between summer residents, bed and breakfast, and thousands of boats in the area. Having health benefits almost an hour away is a major detriment to not only the community, but also all businesses around here that serve seasonal guests.
Just a point of fact, for the last 25 years, Chester has been in the black fiscally. The only 2 years we haven't been was 1 year when Shore Regional didn't report to the HSCRC that they were shutting down obstetrics and pediatrics, and they took a big penalty for that, millions of dollars. The other year we were not in the black was a year that transitioned to a new billing service, which ironically enough, the University of Maryland took over. They kind of screwed up, and we were in the red that year. So the last 25 years, we've been in the black, except for 2 years that Shore Regional or screwed up. So this place has always been a viable place. We have great philanthropy in this town. Marion Gorman left, but her foundation has been quite supportive of this place. In fact, right now, one of the major projects going on in our renovation in the hospital is funded by the foundation, not Shore Regional. The point being, if they want, they can find a way